Okay, thought I'd do a repair video on one of these. A significant number of bike bags being damaged by baggage handlers. They inevitably get paid out by the aircraft company or by insurance. And these will either end up sometimes being repaired, or in the case of this one, was paid out. So being paid out, the original owner went and bought a new bag, gave this one to me as a gift and said, have a go at fixing it. And I thought, if I can fix this, then there's probably a bunch of other people out there in a similar situation. This one, look, on the face of it, it's in pretty good condition. I'll turn it around. So both sides are pretty good. The top half's got a few sort of scratches from just general baggage handling, but otherwise it looks fairly good. Where the damage is evident is when you tip it up on its end. I'll try and get back a bit. The rails, both the bottom rails, have been severely bent. And in one case, if I zoom in at the bottom, you can see the rails actually fractured right through. So that's the external damage. Internally, the bag's pretty good, with the exception of the bike stand itself. And once again, you'll see here, one of the rails is severely bent to the point where it's also fractured through. So really, the only part of the bag that necessitates repair on initial inspection is just the two sets of rails. I've purchased a set of these bottom rails. You can get replacement rails through either Evoc, or I think there's a local bike shop in Australia here that'll ship them to most capital cities, and I've got a pair of those on order. I think they're about 70 Australian dollars for the pair. The other rail was a little bit harder to get. That's one replacement rail that I got from Bike In online, and I think they're an outfit that operate out of Spain. There was a bit of an error in the order and shipping. They only shipped one of these rails, so I'm still waiting for the second one to come. But once again, they're about $70 for the pair. So really, for the sake of 140 Australian dollars in parts, I'm hoping to get this bag back in service, and then I'll use it on an upcoming trip later this year. It's not a bad deal, under $200 to repair a bag that retails new for over, I think in Australia it's sort of $1,200 to $1,400, depending on where you go and buy it. So now we'll open it up and have a look and see if we can fit the new rails. Okay, this looks like a pretty straightforward operation. If you look at the right one, it's still here. All I've done on the left side here is just drill out the top of the rivet. The washer comes off pretty easy, and I've started to punch the rivet through. I'll turn it over in a tick and show you that. One thing to note, I thought these were just fabric straps, but they're actually got a pretty stiff material inside, most likely either aluminium or steel plate. It's had the crap bent out of it by the damage that was done at the airport. So when I get these properly removed, I'll put these in the vise and straighten it as well. It also explains a lot of if you look at the bottom of the bag, there's a little bit of distortion, and I think that's sort of in part due to the permanent set that's been taken up, or that's been taken by these steel plates. So there's a bit of conjecture with my mate as to how the damage occurred. We suspect that the bag's fallen off with the bike in it onto the runway, and then the little tugger train that they use to move the baggage around, the tail end of that's probably run over the bag itself, hence the significant damage that's occurred. Amazingly, the bike inside, and it was quite an expensive bike, it was my mate's bike, was undamaged, which is a testament to the bag, really. There you go, that's just a shot of the rivet here that I've punched out. I've got to go and grab a pair of lock pliers just to pull the remainder out. So if the other ends is easy, and then you've just got the middle rails, the middle rivets here on the rail, should be a straightforward replacement. So happy days. Righto, first rail removed. Shit. So nearly lost a washer there through the cracks. That would have been a disaster. Anyway, back onto it. Look, pretty straightforward. The only thing I'll mention, this front, where the front wheel clips on, the plastic fixtures there. This has actually got a plastic pin. I don't know if I can get the camera around there. So you've got to bend that out of the way because that goes right through that hole there. So just beware that this end of the rail won't pull out. But other than that, it's pretty straightforward. Just have a look when you lie the rails side by side, the holes indeed do not line up. The good news is I don't have to drill a big hole at the end, I just have to re-drill the little ones. And then trim it to length. So the rails aren't plug and play, so to speak. There's a little bit of fiddling around. They're the rivets that came out in the washers. The first rivet where the fracture was, you can see how badly bent that is. So it gives you an idea of the load that was put through there when it was run over or however it was damaged. All right, back again after 3 weeks, I think. So last time I filmed, I had an additional rail on order, which you can see in the background there. That's finally come through. So just so other people don't make the same misfortune that I had, I ordered one of the lower rails with the black plastic extrusion that you see in the background from Bike-In. The Bike-In website shows 2 photographed. So when you're putting your order in online, you think you're getting 2. They come in a pair. They don't. They come in individual pieces. I tried to clarify this in about 3 or 4 online requests and on their chat, and they just basically came back and said, we can't tell you what it is, you'll have to take a punt, which I thought was a little bit unsatisfactory. But anyway, to cut them a bit of slack, when only one showed up in the mail, I lodged a warranty claim that they'd only shipped 1 instead of 2, and they refunded half the price. In the foreground, I've got the spare rails for the actual Bike Stand Pro, I think it's called. As you'll remember, this is pretty badly damaged, and so is the one in the far side. There's been a bit of design evolution since Evoc made the original bike stand. The rails come in 2 pieces and they're adjustable length. I'll fit them up in a minute and have a good look. But I ordered those. You can get them from Evoc, or most local bike shops have them. So really the difficult one to get was the reinforcing rails that go under the case in the background. And really the only place I've been able to find that I can get those is from Bike-In out of Spain. Anyway, I'll work on the front first just because it's easy, and then we'll do the rear, and I'll update shortly. Okay, the bike stand with the new rails fully assembled with my bike ready to go. It's come together pretty good. Just a couple of points. See these plastic plugs, you'll have to remove those off the old rails and put them on. But other than that, it's straightforward. The only difference is that they're a 2-piece assembly rather than the original 1-piece. That comes at a bit of a weight penalty. It's about 170 grams, just because you've got an aluminium insert to join the 2 together, plus these spring-loaded pins. They are a bit longer. They're about 80mm longer than the originals, which are sitting over there now. And the other thing is that they've got a locating pin here at the front, which I presume clips into here. I tried fitting it in the bag initially like that, but the bike was too far forward, so I'm not sure why they've included that. But I think most of you will find you'll have to move the bike back a bit you'll have to move the bike back a little bit from the front just to get it to fit with the handlebars at the top, as you can see in the back there. Okay, all 6 reinforcing straps have been removed. If you have a look at some of these, it just makes you wonder what they're doing at the airport, but look at that. They've absolutely mutilated the bejesus out of them. Anyway, we'll put those in the vise and straighten them up and we should be good to go. This is inside the bag itself, with them all removed. Fair bit of swarf in there from the drilling. I'll vacuum that out. I'll remove the rail from the bottom and then we'll start pre-drilling the new rails to go in. My earlier comment about removing the plastic cap at the end of the bag, at the rear end, I'm about to do that. There's a total of 4, 5, 6 rivets that you have to remove. So there's a metal reinforcing plate here where I'm pointing to. There's 2 rivets each side with a small washer, and then in the floor there's these 2 rivets here that you'll need to remove as well. That just makes positioning the rails and lining up the holes a lot easier. Okay, in my multi-million-dollar state-of-the-art workshop here, got the 2 rails clamped together. Old one in front to be used as a template. Just a tip, if you've got some of these, just whack one on at sort of 300mm spacing every before you mount it in the vise. Just helps to line everything up. If you look here, the big holes lined up at the front. Holes are all spaced 135mm, which makes it easy because this is broken off, so I can slide it along and use it to drill the hole at the end, or the last hole at the end. Anyway, we'll get these drilled and we'll go from there. Righto, all the holes have been drilled. As you can see, they're offset to the pre-drilled ones. That's fine. As you go along the length, they tend to space out a bit more, but should be alright. I've forgotten what the dimensions are on these fasteners, but they're, I don't know, they're sort of about maybe 20-25mm long. They fit through. I'm going to use these in place of the rivets. Just one thing to note though, the factory drilled holes have got bigger holes that enable you to get the rivet in. In this case we're going to be using a nut, so I'm going to have to open these holes up a bit, so I'll use a larger drill bit just to drill out those holes. Okay, ready for reassembly now. Finished drilling these out, the 2 rails. It's pretty straightforward. Just a point to be aware of. I think I said they were 135mm spacing on the holes. They're actually 125, and I think there's one set that aren't evenly spaced. So you'll see here there was an additional hole that I drilled due to a bit of a cock up on my behalf. Doesn't matter because once you put the plastic extruded strips over the decorative strips, you won't see it anyway. If you look on the other side, I've just idiot proofed it. As you can see where I've circled the holes that we're using. But pretty straightforward. If you use the old rails as a template to drill, you can't go wrong really, except I did go wrong, but that's another story. I've straightened all the reinforcement bottom straps, I'll call them. They straightened in the vise quite easily. They're not perfect, but they're pretty much, you know, good enough for what I'm going to be using the bag for. They straighten pretty easily. I've got some fasteners over here. Just a tip, here in Australia, if you're here in Australia, don't go to that famous warehouse where it's advertises with the colours of green and red. They'll rip you off blind for these things because you've got to buy them in minimum packs of, I don't know, 10 or 20, and they'll end up costing you 10 to 15, 20 bucks. I went to just a local fastener shop here, and but $4 for the lot of these. I've got 2 lengths. I can't remember what they are. They're sort of look, at the end of the video I'll post up a note of what diameter and what length they are. I'm not quite sure that they're actually the correct size, but they're a sort of a start to just do the reassembly. If they're too long or too short, I'll either cut them or go and buy some newies. as I said, $4. I'll probably just go and buy the correct ones because it's not worth my time to cut and dress each screw individually. Okay, rails reinstalled now along with the plastic end cap at the top. Pretty happy with the way this turned out. It's nice and straight. Bag looks as it was before it was damaged, minus the odd scuff mark. This is the end cap that I had to remove to enable the removal and the reassembly of the plastic trim or the extrusion that goes in here. This covers all the holes. All the holes that I drilled here previously, they've now got an M5 hex head bolt, which I'll show at the end of the video, with a nylock nut. The nylock nut's on this side and it's covered by the extrusion, so it's nice and pretty. And then on the inside of the bag, which I'll show you in a minute, you've just got the hex head bolt. It looks very neat. These are actually the hex head bolts here that I've had mounted on the outside of the bag for the plastic cap. So for the plastic cap, which is this assembly here, which holds the wheel, you've got 6 of these. So you got 1, 2, actually you got 8 in total, but there's a 15mm one, which is shorter, and I think these are actually 10mm. Once again, I'll have a look. I'll put it up at the end of the video. So you got 1, 2, and then across the top here, or the front I should say, you got another 3, 4, 5, 6. And I think from memory, as I said earlier, they're 10mm. They might be 15. And then on the inside here, which is a bit hard to see in there, there's a slightly longer one, and that's 15mm. Apart from, might not come out on the video, but there's a little bit of a crease here in the plastic trim. That's from the original damage when this was bent right in, and it had basically resulted in some permanent set in the plastic. I'm going to have a go at just improving that a little bit with a hairdryer. These are all thermoplastics. This is just a polypropylene. Polypropylene's generally pretty good with, in terms of being able to reshape it a little bit with some heat. So at least we can, at least try and improve that a bit. The other thing is this base material. It's either a polyester or a polypropylene fibre. There's a little bit of what I'll call permanent set or bruising to the material that resulted once again from when this rail fractured. These are generally thermoformed in the factory, so if you have a look at it, sort of a bathtub type structure. Once again, it's usually a polyester material with some sort of thermoplastic resin that's impregnated into it, and that enables it to take permanent set when heat's applied, and then it's put through a press, and that enables it to get these tub-like shapes with the sort of the reinforcing or the stylised ribs. So I'll have a go at getting that out with the hairdryer as well. It's a bit hard to see on camera, but there is a little bit of distortion, particularly on this side. It's not too bad. I'm just being a bit picky more than anything. Moving to the inside of the bag, just starting at the front end with the end cap. So here's the end cap that we talked about in the last shot. If you look on the inside, I've reused the original washers that were under the rivets that I drilled out. So reuse these. There's also an M5 washer just in between the M5 nylock nut and the main bag washer. It just gives you a little bit more even clamping force. I notice these bigger washers are quite soft and they do distort, so an additional washer won't hurt. Conversely, on the other side, on the rail side, I've used an M5 washer as well, just to distribute the load evenly on the rails. These are actually going to be a stronger solution than the original rivets, which were only like an aluminium alloy. So there's another 4, 1, 2, 3 and 4 M5 bolts here. From memory, I think, I just double checked, I think these are an M15 length. I know that these two here are M15 and so are these two. I think that's M15 and that's M15. And then I think these are M20. All along the middle of the bag for the reinforcing straps, I used 15mm long M5 bolts, hex bolts. and they're quite a nice clean solution. They look better than the original rivets, I think, and they're probably going to be a stronger solution as well. And then up at the back end, once again, just due to the way the bag's built or structured, I've opted to put the bolts on the inside of the bag just so that we don't have these protruding on the other side and onto the floor. And I'll show you now if I roll the bag over. So these are the bolts that I've used here that have come through. Just a little bit of advice. At the back end of the bag where the wheels are, once you put these bolts in, make sure you use a nice large diameter washer. If you don't use a washer with these, and a standard M5 washer won't do, it'll just pull through. Got to use something a bit bigger. Just be careful when you torque it up as well, otherwise it'll pull straight through this plastic garnish plate, I'll call it, and through the hole in the aluminium, and then you won't have anything holding this bit on. So you need at least some sort of washer. I've just reused one of the rivet washers. It's a little bit rough, but I straightened it in the vise. There's plenty of these that come off when you drill it out, and they make a good good alternative to doing a dedicated trip to the shops to get a new one. Anyway, I'll get the hairdryer onto this, see if we can straighten it out. You can sort of see now just a little bit how, looking along here of how it's distorted, but I think we'll, might not get much improvement, but we'll see how we go. Okay, all done now. Look, it's marginally better. I wouldn't say it's a huge improvement, but it's definitely better than what it was. Still got a little bit of a white stress line here, but that's definitely a lot straighter and conforms better with the bottom. But anyway, that's pretty much it. I'll get it cleaned up and then we'll put the bike in. Hot tip, much easier to mount your bike to this Bike Stand Pro by doing it upside down. Okay, bike's in there now. Pretty happy with the way this turned out. Essentially, as I said earlier, got a rather expensive case for about $200 and a few hours of repair work. Hats off to Evoc. I'm hoping it's intentional, but these appear to be repairable. So maybe they're taking notice of the right to repair movement, who knows. But definitely avoiding what must be around, I don't know, 1 cubic metres worth of plastic, aluminium and a lot of other non-recyclable composite materials ending up in landfill. So once again, if Evoc have intentionally made these parts available online, particularly the bottom rails, which I got through Bike In Spain, hats off to them for making these repairable. Hopefully this video has been of help for you guys. If you thought it was worthwhile and helpful, give the like button a bit of a tickle. Hopefully I'll do a few more of these in future, particularly on how to repair things that otherwise would be thrown out. Once again, thanks for joining me and we'll see you soon. Bye.